so much preaching, all the preaching up in here. Moral outrage, stop drinking milk. Welcome to Cooper Stuff, everybody. Once more, we're filming on the road. I wish I was in my studio that I built because it's much prettier than this, but check it out. It's black. It's the best color. What's up? Today, we're going to be talking about all the preaching, all the outrage, all the celebrity stuff. Hollywood, celebrities, the Oscars, everybody, everywhere, all the time, telling you how you're supposed to live and how just crazy I think it is. But first, it's fresh. What's up? Okay, I'm on the road here in Spokane. I just found the store for the first time. It is called Hope. It is a faith-based store, and I'm really thrilled because usually you walk through the mall and all you see is naked folks. And you know, if you've been following the Coop, I really can't stand that. It really annoys me. Bikinis everywhere. All right, like I say, I only just heard of this, but they got cool stuff in here. I want to show you something that I like. Check this out. Middle of their mall, they have a prayer booth. Check it out. Let us pray for you. Booyah! It said that the profits from this store go where?
So 100% of the profit goes to different nonprofits and charities we support each year. Like this year, for example, is Embrace Grace, and they are a pro-life/pro-love group. They're advocating to network with different ladies who are in a crisis pregnancy situation, who just recently had a baby, or I believe also like post-abortion, and they're just trying to network with ladies so that they don't feel ashamed or secluded in the situation that they're in. And
hard situation.
Yeah.
All right, how does this look? Tell me. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. I think that's really super cool because, as you guys may have known in the past, I get personally sick of going to the mall, especially when you got little kids. Like when my kids were young, especially like my son, go through the mall and everywhere you look, it's like women in their underwear and women in bikinis all over the whole thing. Everything is just selling sex to such an incredible degree. It's really embarrassing when you have your little kids there. So I was very happy to see that store. There's nothing in it for me for supporting them, but I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do. So now let's jump into this. You guys may know this is something I feel really passionate about. All right. I have an incredible disdain for Hollywood. I get so tired of celebrities constantly telling us how we have to live. And I don't usually watch like award shows and stuff. I usually watch, like the outtakes or the highlights or what have you, because I hate them so bad. We just had the Oscars, and I have to talk a little bit about this. Okay, so here's the crazy thing is that Hollywood is such a degenerate place, honestly. It's just so full of sin. When you think of morality in the world, what's the first thing you think of? Is it Hollywood? Is it celebrities? Is it, influencers on social media? So for today's goals, I want to kind of like lump Hollywood, films, celebrities, social media influencers. I want to like lump it all together into one thing of so much preaching, all right? Here's the kind of ironic thing is that these days, it's almost like the celebrities and the Hollywood crowd preach more than like preachers, like church preachers, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. This has a two-sided coin of things that annoy me. Number one, I think the church should be preaching a lot more. When's the last time you heard people in church preach about morality, about how we should actually live beyond, helping the poor, being a good person? We hear lots and lots about being charitable at church. These days, we don't actually hear a lot about lordship and what living for Jesus actually costs you. I don't really know what the deal with that is. I personally feel like, I'm about to say it, I feel like a lot of preachers are getting scared. I think a lot of Christians are tired of being called judgmental by the world. We want the world to like us, so we've just decided just to stop, preaching truth. I don't really know why that is. It's absurd and it's pathetic. I think it's because, honestly, I think that a lot of us, I think we've become weak, and I think that churches need to begin to talk about morality. The funny thing is that churches now no longer really preach about morality, but instead, the inverse is true. The world is constantly preaching about morality, and I just find it so annoying. So let's just look at what this is. So we had the Oscars. First thing was this. All right, so I don't really care about the whole political thing if people want to do it, but here's the irony of this thing is that Hollywood has been responsible for so much degradation in our society, okay? So we have like people that have just made so much smut, so much violence, so much sex, come and constantly preach about, like, for instance, gun control. It's just really ironic, no matter what you think about gun control or not. The irony is that you have people that they've been glorifying violence for decades and decades. I'm not even necessarily complaining about it. This isn't even about what movies you should like or what you shouldn't. I love action films. The point is that when you have films that are going to be glorifying violence over and over and over, and then you have these people get up and yell about gun control, it's really super annoying. So here's an example. At the Oscars, Brad Pitt won for his film that he made, the Tarantino film, was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something like that? I didn't see the film, but he won for it, and so he gets up and he basically starts talking about politics, about the impeachment, and he's mad that basically in the Trump impeachment that they didn't give, the Senate didn't give witnesses to let witnesses in or whatever it is, right? So he's saying basically he's mad that John Bolton didn't get to come testify. And then he says, this is just unbelievable. He says, maybe Quentin Tarantino can make a movie on it. He can, like a justice movie. The irony is this, is that, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at myself. The irony is this, like, I will not watch Quentin Tarantino films. I haven't seen any of his last films. I have no judgment on any of you who watch it at all. Some of my best friends are like, dude, you got to go see this new Tarantino film. It's amazing. I say, no, it's one of the very few directors in the whole world that I don't care. Even if he directed a Christian film, I wouldn't see it, based solely on the fact that his movies are so disgusting to me. They bother me so much. I don't need to see any more rape scenes. His movies always have rape scenes in them, and obviously sex, gratuitous violence. A lot of times his films have, it's kind of like comical violence. Like, it's supposed to be funny that so many people are dying and get, like Kill Bill, getting, cut and blown to pieces, hands blowing off, people raping each other, men raping men, men raping women. His movies are so disgusting that about 10 years ago, I was like, I'm out. I will never see, on principle alone, I don't care if he made a film about Jesus that was only from the Bible, I will not see his films. Yet this guy that has made so much crap and so much smut, glorified sin to such a great degree, now they're saying, yeah, he'll be the one to bring justice to Trump or whatever. These people disgust me, honestly. They disgust me in such an incredible way. But not because of their lives, because everybody's entitled to live the way they want to live. I have no judgment on somebody who doesn't live for Jesus. That's not my business. What is so annoying to me is that these are the people that are preaching to me about how I should live. It's just amazing. They've all got like 6 kids from 4 different marriages, they've been divorced like time after time after time again, but they're going to like preach to me about like parenting. This is the kind of crap they do. It drives me nuts. Obviously, we have all the same stuff that you're going to typically have, which I've already shared on some of my other podcasts about, like, they're mad that, women directors didn't get, sexism at the website. So they're there fighting sexism. And amazing thing to me, again, is the fact that, like, Hollywood has treated women so bad for so many decades. And they think that the remedy is having like women be nominated for directing. It's just the world we live in right now is so psychotic. It's just so bananas to me. So somebody like me can be called a sexist because I don't think that we should nominate women just because they're women. If the film wasn't good, so people are really mad because there's a woman director. I don't even know what she did this year because I haven't watched movies. They're mad that she didn't get nominated this year because it's such a sexist place. However, she did get nominated a few years ago for Lady Bird, which is a film that, whatever, I didn't see actually. But the point is that they voted for her to vote for her every single time she makes a movie, but I'm the sexist for it. Meanwhile, I've not been in Hollywood degrading women for generations. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so next thing. Look, I don't have anything against this next one, but I just got to say it for the sheer irony of this. I'm going somewhere with this in case you're like, wow, all John's doing is just going off today. I'm going somewhere. Wait for it. I'm on the road, so my voice is extra scratchy, if you can imagine such a thing. Okay. I love Joaquin Phoenix. I think he is amazing. Gladiator, he was amazing in Gladiator. Walk the Line, which was about Johnny Cash. I love Johnny Cash, and I felt like Joaquin Phoenix was like channeling Johnny Cash. He's amazing. Joker, a lot of people have different opinions on Joker. I think probably the best way to say it was this, is artistically was made extremely well. Joaquin Phoenix deserved to win everything. He was amazing in it. But what I want to say is this, like, sometimes, I don't want to take anything away from him because he's literally one of my favorite actors, but sometimes when you see actors in real life, like Jack Nicholson, like you see him on like, a talk show or something or an interview, or Robert De Niro, you start thinking to yourself, maybe they're not as good of actors as I thought. Maybe they're actually just psycho in real life. So, like, Jack Nicholson's an amazing actor, but when you see him in real life, you're like, he might just be compelling because he's so bizarre. He's such a psycho. Doesn't mean he's not a great actor, but sometimes what's compelling about people is the fact that they are so unusual. And I find Joaquin Phoenix to be an amazing actor because I feel completely unnerved. I don't know if you feel that way. I watch Joaquin Phoenix, I think, this guy is so unnerving. He's got like this, he's like dead eyes, kind of like he's thinking, he's looking at, whatever. He's soft-spoken, but he's like the freaky guy that, cuts your throat in the softest way possible rather than like a screaming lunatic. I find those kind of people even more frightening. So Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, amazing. But I've seen him at 2 award shows now, and he's just like, he's so weird. So this time, if you didn't see it, if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. It was pretty weird. If you didn't see it, he basically was saying that humans, kind of like that we are, like, we feel that we're entitled to like using everything in the earth. We plunder the earth's natural resources. We plunder the animals. We're at the top of the food chain, so we take what we want. That's basically what he's saying. He's talking about speciesism. Have you ever heard of that? It's another thing you got to worry about now, apparently. Speciesism. And his point was this: the cow has a baby calf. We take the calf away. Then we take the cow's milk. We use it in our, in our cereal. And he's saying we got to quit doing this. So, I don't really care if that's what Joaquin Phoenix is into. I think the point of what I really want to make is that there's so much preaching. Let me say it like this. Can you ever imagine an award show at the Oscars and somebody coming up to win their award and come up and saying, hey, I just want to say this, guys. We need to do something about our sexual morality. We really need to do so because it's not pure, and God doesn't want us to be living sexual immoral lives. So, in fact, even if you feel lust for another woman in your heart, even if all you do is feel lust in your heart, then you actually are guilty of adultery. So all of us, we need to stop being adulterers up in here. For Jesus. Can you imagine what that... Can you imagine? What if somebody came up and won their award and they were like, I just want to say this, guys, we need to stop killing the babies. No more abortions, Let's get rid of Roe versus Wade. Let's do it, everybody. Can you imagine everybody clapping for this? The point I'm trying to make is that they're all completely monolithic. They're all into what they're into, and they want to preach to you. And what I want to say to all of the people like me that are watching that are kind of like, I don't want to take my cues from you guys. What I want to say is, you don't have to take your cues from these people. It's not just Hollywood. It's not just the Oscars. It's all of the social media bubble. I call it the Twitterverse, social media verse. All the influencers, the celebrities, they're all completely monolithic. Now, when I say they're monolithic, I don't mean they necessarily all believe the exact same thing. In other words, Joaquin Phoenix is a vegan. I'm not saying everybody in there is a vegan, but they all like that what he's saying is we need to be good people. So here's kind of what I want to say is this. It's a lot easier to preach to other people about being a good person rather than just being a good person, right? Like, for instance, if you follow the news the last couple of years, you know about Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement. Harvey Weinstein is a really it's just a terrible, terrible piece of trash human being. I said it. Because this guy abused women for decades upon decades upon decades, okay? Now, I do want to say this. By the way, we are all piece of trash human beings. We all need redemption through Christ. That's what I believe. I'm not saying I don't think that I'm a piece of trash as well. I know that I'm a piece of trash. But this guy's unrepentant sins came to such a degree of abuse and injustice towards women that it's horrible, right? So after this guy has been, accused of abusing, I don't really remember when it was, 10, 15 different women, maybe it was 20 at the time, I don't remember. He came out saying, you know what, I want to apologize, and I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to fighting for gun control and fighting for women's rights, because it's easier to come out and say you're going to fight for something that all of the Twitterverse loves rather than it's saying I need to get my life right and I'm going to stop abusing women, right? This is kind of what we're living in. Another thing that you may have seen, this is a really stupid example, but for instance, do you guys remember just last year when, who are the people that were doing, I can't remember what it was called. It was, the thing where people were paying money to get their kids into college and stuff like that. It was William H. Macy's wife. I can't remember her name. Felicity Huffman. There's a lot of people, but several of the people that got accused they were basically lying and paying money to get kids into college when their kids, didn't deserve to get into the colleges and things like that. It was this big scam. In fact, I think Felicity Huffman actually got some jail time for it. So it was a really big deal. But the irony of the whole situation is that, she's married to William H. Macy. At the time, William H. Macy is an awesome actor, by the way. So is Felicity Huffman, for that matter. But he was one of the people that was constantly tweeting about how we need honor in society. He was really mad about Trump because Trump was lying all the time, he said, and we can't have a society that lies. We need to fight for truth and fight for justice. And at the same time, these people are lying and they're paying money to get their kids into colleges when their kids don't deserve to get into those colleges. We do not need to be listening to these people about how to live our lives. And I'm saying it for a couple of reasons, because number one, the church needs to do our job. We need to be telling our people what it means to be moral. And guess what? We don't have to guess what it is to be moral. That's what I find so stressful. I'm assuming a lot of other people do too, especially young people who are so influenced by the internet. Young people who kind of take their moral and social cues from Instagrammers and YouTubers and people like that. We're looking for a moral compass, and you cannot find it in the social media verse because their moral compass is going to change every day. Do you know what I mean? In other words, it's not founded on anything. The great news about Christianity is that our moral compass is founded on something. It's found on the Word of God, on Jesus' words, and on the Bible. So the Bible tells us how to live. That is how you build a sure foundation on rock. But if you are not building that on that rock and you're building it on influencers, it's going to change every single day. All you got to do is go to social media, for fun. Go to social media this week. Find out what all of your favorite YouTubers and Instagrammers and celebrities are telling you have to do to be moral. I mean, just from the Oscars alone, what you have to do to be moral is you have to nominate women as directors, or else you're immoral. You cannot eat meat, or you're immoral. You can't drink milk, or you're immoral. This thing can go on and on and on and on. What is another one I saw this week? Oh, I know. There's a group fighting for climate change that is saying it's actually immoral for humans to have babies. because we are killing the earth. So even if it means the eventual extinction of the human race, it's still actually moral for the human race to die because we would be saving the earth, which is more of a moral thing than the end of humanity, all right? I mean, you cannot take your moral cues from these people. So number one, I just want to tell the church, we don't need to judge people for not living for Jesus if they are outside of our faith. That is their life. But we still have to tell them the truth. If you're not telling people the truth, then how are they going to know the truth? But we need to do that in a loving way. So I don't want to judge people for the sins they've done if they're outside of Christianity. For people that are inside of Christianity, we actually have a responsibility to tell people the truth. If we don't tell our brothers and sisters in Christ what morality from the Bible looks like, then we are actually doing a disservice. That is not actually being a loving thing. Now, I'm not talking about being judgmental and hateful to people, but I'm talking about being honest about morality and what that should look like. The next thing I want to say once more to especially the Christian people out there, have you ever heard the term virtue signaling? Virtue signaling is just basically a word you hear in politics all the time. All that virtue signaling is this. It's when someone sees an injustice, and maybe they are even kind of guilty of that injustice on their own, but what they need to do is they need to like shout it from the rooftops that I'm the one that's really good. So for instance, let's say Harvey Weinstein, that's a good example, I already used it. Harvey Weinstein is a great example, someone that has literally abused women, literally accused of sexual abuse, will then virtue signal and yell about gun control. It's a way to let the world know that you are virtuous and to sort of like get back your moral, all the kind of like moral virtue that you lost, moral power, I think is a good way to say it. All the moral power that you've lost, you get that power back by virtue signaling. On Twitter, going, man, this is gun control, this is so evil, I hate Trump. That's virtue signaling. Or for instance, you could do somebody that makes soft pornography films to talk about sex trafficking all the time. It's kind of like, you're kind of like somebody like that, to me, in my personal opinion, is kind of guilty of degrading women already. You're guilty of making women seem like animals and objects of men's desires, nothing more than an object. At that point, to me, you are promoting sexual immorality by making pornography and soft pornography, but they feel they can gain their virtue back by going, we need to fight for women's rights, and Oscar so male, and now they get that virtue back. It's really, honestly, it's really incredibly twisted. What you also see a lot of time in virtue signaling, you see a lot of, like, for instance, a lot of white people will be the first ones to complain about something that they see as being racist. The irony of this thing is, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it might be helpful for some of you guys. The irony of this is that I have a lot of, black friends that will not be offended by something that's racist. Let me start over. I think that's the point, is it actually racist? Something will happen, all the white people will say, you're such a racist, and they get on Twitter and they go, blah, 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 so racist. Whereas my black friends will be like, I don't really know if that's something racist or not. They'll be like, I don't really take it that way. But white people want to be the first ones saying something is racist because in our country, our original sin in America is obviously slavery. Blacks and brown people have been historically so abused in our society that white people feel that we have no power. We have no moral power. I don't mean literal power, I mean moral power. We feel that has been, we're devoid of it because of our ancestors' original sin of slavery. So therefore, when we see something that we think, that we can be the first ones yelling about racism, we feel that we can get all that power back by being the first ones saying, yeah, racist, blah, 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 blah. Whereas a lot of times it's not actually a racist thing. That is called virtue signaling. And what I want to say to the Christians is this. A lot of churches, in my opinion, and a lot of Christians are beginning to virtue signal all the time. This is something we're seeing in the world, and as it always happens, the world influences the church. It's not supposed to be that way. The church is supposed to influence the world with truth, but we so desperately want to be loved by the world that we are taking on, all the stuff the world's doing. And now we want a virtue signal because we don't want the celebrities to think that we're not moral people. And so we start going, hashtag Oscar so white, Oscar so male, they need to do this, speciesism. I've never heard of speciesism before. Of course I've heard of veganism, but speciesism was a brand new one for me. Thank you, Joaquin Phoenix, for enlightening me on something new. So what I'm trying to say to the church is this: you don't need to feel like you need to virtue signal so the world thinks you're a good person, because guess what? The world's not good people either. All they do is they go on and they yell about all this stuff on Twitter while they're doing bad stuff. All they do is go, Quentin Tarantino, make a good movie so we can get justice for Trump, even though Quentin Tarantino's made disgusting rape, sex, violence, disgusting incest, sex-ridden films. Is this really the person you want to bring justice to the world? It's just so unbelievable to me. The truth is that it's easier for those people to virtue signal online than it is to look at their actual lives. So the fact is, somebody like me, as a Christian, the fact that I've been married to the same woman for 22 years, I do not flirt with other women, I don't want anything to do with any other women, I don't watch pornography, I don't watch pornographic films. The fact that I do those things means nothing to those kind of the woke Hollywood crowd. They're like, yeah, that's good. But have you tweeted about feminism? That's what they want. What they would want is for me to do what they deem to be moral. So as long as I'm tweeting about feminism and I'm tweeting about, women getting nominated for directing for movies, then they would go, wow, that guy is on our team. He is a moral person. So in other words, I could be having affairs, I could be cheating on my wife, I could be filming pornographic films if I wanted to. As long as I'm doing the right tweets for woman power and woman's issues, they would think I'm a good person. As long as I was saying, you're right, Joaquin Phoenix, no more milk ever. All the milk is gone. No more milk for anybody. No more coffee, milk in your coffee. If I was doing that, then all the other stuff, if I have 4 marriages, 10 kids, kids that I don't even know about, that I refuse to make payments to, they would be fine with all of that as long as I'm saying, you're right, let's save the earth. All that is it's such total crap. This is not what morality looks like in the celebrity Twitterverse. You don't need to listen to these people. Last thing I want to say is this. Somebody might be saying, rightly so, interesting, John, you're saying that we don't need to listen to influencers while you're telling us what we need to do. You know what? I'm totally fine with that. Don't listen to me either. Imitate Christ. Don't imitate John. Imitate Christ. That's my whole message. Obviously, I want to do the very best job I can do at imitating Christ, but I feel as much as possible, I don't want my words to actually be my own. I just want them to imitate the Bible. And even in the Christian influencer world right now, I'm so alarmed, even in the Christian influencer world, that there are so many influencers that don't want to imitate the words of the Bible. They want the woke Hollywood crowd, the Twitterverse, they want all those people to think they're good people, and they're jumping on some of these causes. That stuff is total crap. So yes, feel fine to not imitate me. Imitate Jesus, because that's what it's all about. And you know what? Preach with your life. That's what I want to say, man. To me, in my opinion, being married for 22 years, being faithful to your spouse, being a person that says, I'm not going to watch pornography because I believe it degrades women, that is so much more of a testimony than all these people yelling on Twitter. So preach with your life. Preach Jesus to your friends in a loving way. And to all of us Christian brothers and sisters, do not be afraid to tell each other the truth. Are you with me up in here?